Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Christina and today is going to be a bit of a negative video in some ways, but I figured it'd be kind of informative. So today's video is going to be products I regret buying or having in my collection. These are not new purchases. Some of these are older, some things that I've used for a while. So I've gathered a pretty good opinion on them. So without further ado, let me just hop into the products. So the first thing I want to talk about is probably going to be kind of controversial. So I just want to get it out of the way immediately. And it's basically the entire Raw Beauty Kristi Colourpop collab. Please don't come for me. I still want to give the eyeshadow palette more of a chance because looking at it, I love it. Like, I love looking at it. I did a whole video swatching this palette. I did finger swatches and I did eye swatches, and that's where a lot of my opinion came from. It just didn't perform that well. And then when I used it, I think I did a 3 looks 1 palette with this as well, and it was kind of the same feeling. It just didn't perform in the way I wanted, which is weird because I've heard a lot of people say this is one of the better formulations of Colourpop. So I don't know if I just got a bad palette, I'm overly picky, but for whatever reason, I just haven't gravitated towards using this palette in a long time. I look at it on occasion, I'm like, oh, this is so pretty, but then I don't use it. So like overall, I feel like I could have lived without it. My favorite shade in here is Old Growth, like this, I don't even know how to describe this purple, like this dusty brown mauve color almost. It's my favorite. It's really pretty all over the lid, and I do really like this yellow as well, but it doesn't perform as well as other yellows I have in my collection. Other than that, I really don't have any particular feelings on any of the shades in this palette. And it makes me really sad because I think overall the artwork is amazing, right up my alley. The color story, amazing, but for whatever reason, I just feel like I could have gone without having this in my collection entirely. I also mentioned the other 2 items that I got from the collab. I don't like the Colourpop Luxe Glosses. I don't like the shade of this either. This is in the shade Wildflower that also came with the collab, and it looks pretty in the tube. I think it would probably be prettier on someone else. It's a little bit too pale for me, and I just find that when I wear it, it like sits in the lines of my lips and looks weird because the natural pigment of my lips is darker than this, and so it like sits in there weird. It kind of washes my lips out because it is such a pale color, and it's just not my favorite on me. I think overall it'd probably look better on someone else, but I also just don't like the formulation of these Luxe Glosses by Colourpop. They're just too sticky for me. I'm not a fan. I like lip oils a lot better, something that's not like sticky. I don't like it when lip gloss does like the line things where they like stick together and then there's like a line of lip gloss. It like really grosses me out. And if I ever find out that that's happening on me, I feel gross. Any sticky gloss freaks me out and I don't want that on my mouth. I don't like it. And then I've mentioned this before. This is the cream shadow from the same collection. This is in Marigold, which I did like this when I could use it, but with a lot of things from Colourpop, it just dried out so incredibly fast, so I ended up not using much of it. It didn't pop too much or stay in my waterline too well. I do have relatively watery eyes, so most things don't stay in my waterline. And then as far as using it as a traditional liner, it just doesn't look right on me, I don't think. It's just, I think I'm too fair to really pull off an entire yellow wing. I don't think it's really for me. Maybe depending on the look, but then that's not something I would be doing frequently enough to even have gotten my money's worth out of this. It's completely dry already. I can't use it, and it's a bummer that this entire line basically was a disappointment to me. And like I said, that's probably one of the more controversial things I want to talk about. I have another thing that's pretty controversial, but we'll get to that later. The next thing I regret purchasing is this. This is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. A lot of you guys are probably gonna look at this and be like, but you've hit pan in there. I have. I've hit pan in this, and I haven't really touched it since then. It's just not something that I use anymore. I did like this when I first purchased it, so this is one of those that like this developed later on. I don't regret purchasing this so much as like, I didn't regret purchasing this when I first had it because I used it, but now that it's like sitting in my collection and I've had it for a while, I'm like, ugh, why did I buy that? Because I don't really use pore filling primers anymore, which is again a bummer. This one is definitely more on par with My Taste Has Changed. The other item that is similar to this that I also kind of regret is this. This is the Touch in Sol No Problem. It's for the same reason. These have the exact same reason as to why I kind of regret having them now. And it's because I just don't use pore filling, especially silicone-y primers anymore. It's just not my go-to. And I just kind of regret having them sitting in my collection a little bit because I just don't reach for them. I don't enjoy using them anymore. It's just not what I want when it comes to my primers anymore. The next item is also from e.l.f. and I'll keep this one brief because I feel like I've complained about it a lot. And this is the e.l.f. Big Mood mascara. I just don't like this. I'm using it on my lashes now and every day until this guy runs out because I just don't want to waste my money and I don't like having multiple mascaras open. And knowing me, if I opened another mascara that I liked more than this, I would just forget to use this and it would dry up and be a waste of money. So I am going to still use it. I love the packaging, I love the idea of this, but it just doesn't do anything for my lashes. I just feel like it just feels like it's doing nothing. And I have to put so many coats on and then the coats get clumpy and it doesn't look good on my lashes and it makes me very sad because I had high hopes for this. I got duped by an Instagram ad. I blame that influencer for making me, for duping my gullible ass, but yeah, you know. Next item is an item that I've had for a really long time and I have regretted purchasing it for a really long time and I refuse to get rid of it because it was freaking expensive and I feel like it should be sentimental, but also just kind of makes me upset. And it is the Jouer lip topper in the color Skinny Dip. Do you guys remember when everyone was talking about these freaking lip toppers? I think it was Nikki Tutorials was talking about these a lot, especially Skinny Dip. I bought this for my wedding day. Did I wear it on my wedding day? I did not. I put it on and I hated it, so I took it off. I don't really understand lip toppers 100%. Like, I'm gonna put it on right now. Like, do y'all see how stark that is when it first goes on? Like, what is this? What is this? I think you're only supposed to put it on like the center, maybe, but I think this is another thing of, one, I got bought in by the hype. Two, I picked a shade that everyone was talking about that I don't think works for me, like as a complexion. Like, I look like I came out of an early 2000s rom-com now. Like, I just look like I have frosty lips. I don't like frosty lips. I'm gonna be staring at myself now going, what did you do, girl? Why did you do it? And these are so expensive. I bought it as like a treat to myself before I got married and I just never use it because, like, when is this appropriate? When is this a thing that I need to do? I'm not sure. But it's so pretty. Like, on its own. Like, sometimes I like to just put it on my hand and like look at it. I'm like, oh, it is really pretty. It still smells good. It still smells like cupcakes, like vanilla cupcakes, which is nice. But like, on my mouth, I hate it. I hate it and I've regretted purchasing it ever since I purchased it. Why did I, and I don't know what to do. Like, it has survived declutters because, again, it was expensive and it's slightly sentimental. I legitimately never use it because I think it's ugly on me. I just don't think it works for me. What is this? Next item that I want to talk about is a face palette. And I don't 100% regret purchasing this. There's things about this I really do like. But overall, it is kind of cumbersome and annoying in my collection. And it's this. This is the Smashbox Face Palette. It was a Holidays Contour Spotlight palette from 2 or 3 years ago. And I was so excited when I purchased it because, I mean, honestly, the packaging is really what keeps it. And the quality of the mirror in this palette is absolutely incredible. Like, it is such a nice high quality palette. Like, it feels so high quality. So I don't like 100% hate it, but I will say the majority of these shades I cannot use. Now learned not to really buy face palettes unless it is catered to someone of my skin tone or it has slots for you to switch things out and like you can fill it yourself, because this is overall pretty useless to me, relatively. Like, I've hit pan on the setting powder now. I can use this silver highlight pretty well. I do hate it has like a pink, it has a pink shift to it though. Like, it is really pink, which is always really upsetting to me because that's not what I want. I wanted the silver highlight. Pink has its place and it's not often on my face. I use pink, like bright pinks very seldomly, and bright pink highlights are definitely not something that I use. And then I can use this contour shade, which I've used a good bit of. It works really well for me because it's cool tone. But for the most part, a lot of these other things are too orange based. and too warm for my skin. So I haven't touched like these 4 shades down here at the bottom. Like I've touched them once to see how they worked and they didn't work for me. And then I never use like this pink, this, whatever this is. I think it's supposed to be a highlight, but it's really just kind of a sheen and it kind of disappears on me. Like y'all see that? It disappears. So it's kind of useless. And then this highlight right here is also too dark for me. So out of this palette, there's literally 3 shades out of the 9 that I can use. And so overall, I feel like that's a waste of money. Even if I love the packaging on this and I love the idea of it, it just isn't that much bang for your buck when you get 9 big face shades and you can only use 3. And even out of the 3, one of them you don't really like that much. So really it's 2 shades and one of them already has pan in it. Once it's gone, it's like, okay, well, great. I've learned my lesson. I think what this has taught me is just, yeah, not to buy face palettes. I haven't bought any new face palettes. I see them all the time and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I remember that almost every time I buy a face palette, there is so much I can't use in them. So I just don't do it anymore. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And then the last item that I'm gonna talk about today, the last thing I'm gonna complain about is in my single shades currently because I took the palette apart, but I want to talk about these 6 right here at the bottom are from Pat McGrath. And I wanted a Pat McGrath palette so bad for so long. So a couple years ago, I finally bit the bullet and bought one. Wasn't impressed. Like, they're good shadows, but I don't think they're any better than some other mid-range palettes that I have had or tried. I don't really understand why they're so expensive, and I just don't think they're that extraordinary, which I know there's so many people that ride hard for Pat McGrath. And I don't know if it's just because I generally don't like spending a lot of money if I feel like you can find something for a cheaper alternative. I don't know if it's just because like makeup, you know, you only wear it for a few hours a day, so why spend a lot of money on it? And maybe it's because, you know, not long after I bought it, the world went into a pandemic, and so like getting dressed up didn't happen for a while, so why buy fancy makeup just to sit at home, you know? All of those things kind of compounded on each other. But I mean, I depotted those out of its palette a long time ago. I think what we did it 2 years ago. I think there's a video up of it as well, which I'll put in the card for you if you want to see it. But the packaging was super cumbersome. It was just clunky and hard to use because it would never stay open when I was using it, which annoyed the ever-living crap out of me. And I was like, for like 50 something, $60, this is really annoying. Like, I feel like it should just function really well for that price tag, you know? I regret purchasing it. I did reach into these shades the other day because I just feel so bad that like I never use them. So like I've used like this brown recently and like these 2 shimmers at the bottom, and they are so super pretty. Like they really are, but I just don't get the hype around them and the price with it. Like I would understand if they were a little cheaper because I'd be like, oh yeah, these are really high quality. They do feel like more of a high quality shadow than like drugstore, but not, I can't tell much of a difference between them and mid-range. Like Urban Decay palettes, like what's the difference? Like, what's the difference? I feel like the Pat McGrath stands are gonna come for me now, but it's just my opinions. I just really don't think it was worth it to me to buy that palette, even though I really wanted it. And this is why, my friends, I don't try high-end things very much, because when I buy something high-end and it doesn't work out for me, I get very upset about it because I don't like wasting money. It makes me very, very unhappy. But that, my friends, is all of the complaining for today. These are all the products I regret purchasing that I could think of. I'm sorry it was overall very negative. I do want to do a video soon talking about products I love having, like my top 2 in every category. I want to do that soon. So definitely some more uplifting content after that. But I figured today, you know, a nice Monday. No one likes Mondays. Let's complain. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video at the very least. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button. Also, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. I upload on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And remember, there is always magic to be found. And I hope that means I see all of you in my next video. Bye!
Alright, ooh baby, just hold tight. We're up the moonlight, believe in the magic. On side, we'll just right. Just look at that bright light. Believe in the magic, and it can save you from